Good evening. Thanks everyone for coming to our event tonight of You Have Greatness in You, Inspiring Stories of Social Impact. My name's Keith Michael, and I'm going to be the moderator for the first part of our program. We're going to have a candid conversation about the doctoral journey with 3 of Walden's doctoral graduates who will share their motivations and what they achieved by earning a doctoral degree. They'll answer questions about how they overcame obstacles and what they learned along the way. I'd like to now take a moment and watch a short clip from our president, Dr. Ward Ulmer.
Good evening. I'm so happy that you're here for this evening of inspiration and change. I wish I could join you in person, but tonight you'll meet so many Walden faculty, staff, students, and alumni, and you'll find how all of us are so very committed to the doctoral journey. From our founding nearly 50 years ago to this academic residency, Walden University has always been about effecting positive social change through education. Many of you are here this evening because you're thinking about earning a doctorate from Walden University. You're wondering if you'll get the support you need. And can you balance the workload, your job, your family, and your daily responsibilities? And then you're thinking, will I have the credibility and the knowledge to make a difference in my community or in my profession? I know this because I had these same questions before I earned my doctorate at Walden University. The conversations you have tonight and the relationships that form in this very room this evening, they can help you achieve your dream. They can make all the difference. You'll leave here more energized and more passionate about earning a doctorate at Walden University. You already have the desire to make it to the top. Walden can help you get there. Enjoy your evening.
I'd like to introduce our 3 doctoral graduates, our panel, starting with Dr. DeGarmo. Dr. DeGarmo is a dynamic speaker and informative trainer on the foster care system and earned his EDD from Walden University. He is an author of several foster care books, including the new book, The Foster Care Survival Guide, the best-selling book, Faith in Foster Care, as well as the foster care children's book, A Different Home, A New Foster Child Story. He is the director of the Foster Care Institute, founder and national development director of Never Too Late, a residential group home for boys in foster care, and acts as a consultant to foster care agencies and legal agencies across the USA and across the globe. Dr. John has appeared on several TV programs, including CNN, Good Morning America, and ABC, NBC, Fox, CBS, and PBS stations. He writes regularly for many magazines and is a regular contributor to several publications, both in the United States and abroad. Dr. DeGarmo is married to Dr. Kelly DeGarmo, and the 2 of them have 9 children, both biological and adoptive. Dr. DeGarmo has been a foster parent for dozens of children for over a decade now and is driven to bring education and insight into general society about all things foster care. Dr. DeGarmo and his wife are the recipients of the Good Morning America Ultimate Hero Award and the Up With People Every Day Hero Award. The 2 were also honored with their city's Citizen of the Year Award. Welcome, Dr. DeGarmo. Dr. Nicole Rankin, affectionately called Dr. Nick, is an engaging certified international empowerment speaker, teacher, and coach with the John Maxwell team. Whether working with schools, universities, businesses, or organizations, Dr. Rankin has a proven track record of success for helping grow leaders around the world. Dr. Rankin helps leaders with leadership development, communication, and personal growth. She uses her experience and passion to equip, inspire, and empower those she serves. With over 20 years of professional experience for helping people, Dr. Rankin is an inspiring story of great achievement. She struggled with reading comprehension in her younger years, but overcame them to work in academia and government agencies. As a health scientist, Dr. Nick is the CEO of the Cole Academy of Personal Growth that delivers workshops, seminars, keynote speeches, and coaching services focused on leadership development. Additionally, she founded Healthy Young People Excel, Inc., that focuses on the development of socially and economically disadvantaged youth. She has traveled internationally to devote over 15 years of her time to youth development and youth ministries, as she also serves as an adjunct professor in public health. She earned a bachelor's and master's degree in biology from the University of Georgia and Georgia State, as well as holds a master's and PhD in public health from Walden University. Thank you, Dr. Rankin. Ray Sanders Muhammad holds a doctorate in business management, an academic achievement dedicated to his late mother, who was and continues to provide inspiration in his life. His dedication to women's causes is reflected in his dedication and service as a board member for the Georgia Ovarian Cancer Alliance. Dr. Muhammad is a member of the Academy of Management and just presented his research at the 2019 International Conference. He resides in Atlanta, Georgia, and teaches management, accounting, and finance on the undergraduate, master's, and doctoral level at the University of Maryland University College, Georgia State University Perimeter Campus, and New England College. His research explores women in leadership, and his research primarily focuses on the interracial experiences of African American women and men in the workplace. By exploring this previously unresearched work phenomenon, he hopes to provide valuable weight into the experiences of a large aspect of the American workforce so that the talents of these workers can be better understood and appreciated. He hopes to see this research replicated among all minority groups so that the unique cultural and societal nuances of each group will allow for a more successful diversification of American businesses. Thank you very much for being here, all three of our guests. So now we're going to switch up, and I'm going to join our panelists and ask a few questions, and then later, I definitely would love to open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions they would like to ask, we'll have some time for that as well. So let me first start, and in no particular order if someone wants to answer. I guess really, the first question is, what was the motivation, either a person or a need to get your doctoral degree?
My wife, she told me I had to get it. At the time when I began the doctoral journey, I was climbing that ladder, so to speak, in the education field in schools. And I felt that that was the next logical step for me to get a principal position or a superintendent position in the school system. Now, since then, since I got the doctoral, I completely switched gears into doing something completely different. But it was encouragement from my family. My wife was going through her doctoral at the same time. And I want to add this, that I think the president mentioned that you may be struggling with questions, can I do this? My wife was going through a doctoral, I was going through the doctoral. We had 9 kids in the house at the time from foster care, adoption, and we both had full-time jobs, and we both did it. So you can absolutely do it, yeah.
Great.
Well, what motivated me, for one, was I had a good friend, very close friend, like a brother to me, who at the time was completing his doctorate in organizational leadership here at Walden University. In addition, as I was obtaining my master's degree at Walden University, I actually was encouraged by a professor who reached out to me based on my engagement on the discussion boards and asked if I had ever considered getting a doctoral degree, and at that time I had not. Of course, my thought was, is he crazy? I mean, like, a doctorate, really? But based on his observation of me and his expertise in the field, I decided that I would give it a try, and from there I consulted with that professor and other people who actually gave me, if you will, the motivation or the enlightenment that said I could do it, and from there I was able to express a desire that actually I did have.
Great.
Yes, madam. Hello, everyone. For me, had a background in biology, and I came from a family of healthcare practitioners. My mother's a nurse, my sister was a nurse as well, my brother was in mental health, so that was my exposure. So in my mind, when I figured out answer that infamous question, what do you want to be when you grow up, I thought I was going to go into medical profession and be a doctor. And I went into biology, and I loved research, very analytical person, so that's kind of the path that I took for that healthcare purpose. But I went and got my master's in biology, and at the point in my life, I'm like, okay, do I take that next step to go to medical school, or do I continue into research? And I was at my church, and the women's ministry had the opportunity to take a mission trip to South Africa. And I was actually had the opportunity to go with them. And during that time, I was able to partner with the physicians, and what we did, we set up a free health clinic for a whole week in one of the townships near Cape Town. And I was doing then what I know now was screenings and public health and education. And I was so excited and so intrigued about it. I didn't know what public health was at that point. I didn't even know it was an option or what it was, but I knew there was something inside of me that was just, I had some passion about it, talking to people, doing screenings. And once I talked to the physician, I was like, what is this? How can I do more of this? And she said, this is public health. And I was like, public health? Nobody told me. So when I came back to the States, I was actually in my master's program for biology. I finished that, and then I started looking for doctoral programs in public health. So that was my motivation. I found my passion.
That's great. Can you describe a difference you hoped, or when you either thought about getting your doctorate or now that you've earned your doctorate degree, can you describe a difference you hope to make in your profession or in your community?
Well, I'll start. So I was on that path that I mentioned earlier, that I wanted to go and do the leadership in schools. But my focus was on, I was a teacher beforehand. I was teaching the classroom high school level, and when I became a foster parent, I started to recognize that many students in foster care were failing classes. And I asked myself, why is this? Why are their academics so low? Why do 50% of kids in foster care drop out of school? Every single community. We have 500,000 kids in foster care across America anytime. So I did my dissertation was on how do you bring teachers together, foster parents together, and caseworkers together in a school setting for these children to succeed. And then it was midway through, it was towards the end of my dissertation that I realized, you know what? This is where I want to dedicate my life on. This is what I want to dedicate. I want to focus my life to helping the children who are in crisis, helping families who are in need. And it was through Walden and the Doctorate that really is able to launch me into doing that.
Great.
I think for me, I seek to help build an inclusive society. I'm blessed to be able to work at various universities with students of various quote-unquote backgrounds and experiences. And inclusion, if some of you are familiar with the Dave Chappelle show, he has a little saying, there was a show where he had, when keeping it real goes wrong. And so it was about, this marginalized group being very honest about what they feel, and it was rejected soundly. But I'm about when keeping it real goes right. And what that means is when you can have a group that has various backgrounds to come together, and each person to be welcomed and encouraged and embraced while still being able to be their authentic self, that is where keeping it real goes right. So every day across the different universities that I'm able to teach at, I experience students all who have different perceptions, different experiences, and different obstacles that they are facing, barriers that make them feel like maybe I'm not worthy to be here, maybe I will not be successful, maybe I'm not a normal thinker. And the greatest thing about my job and my opportunity to impact society is to try and reach out and connect with each of those students by intentionally observing what I hear and what I see and where they are, and to understand and appreciate that experience and learn with them, as opposed to trying to teach them how they should think.
I think for me, the biggest thing when I went to get my doctoral degree, and just understanding being a social agent and being an agent of change, and that I had the power and I had the ability to make an impact, to be an influence. It kind of switched my thinking. Keith read in the bio that I struggled with reading comprehension when I was younger. So all of the things that go along with that, the bullying and the low self-esteem, the depression, and all of the stigma that goes along with that, I was carried with that throughout my educational career, even in college, and even struggling with it now. And being in Walden and having that social change embedded in everything, I began to feel that I could make a difference. And there were so many people, so many counselors and advisors that told me that I wasn't going to make a difference and I wasn't going to be a doctor because I had these disabilities. But I knew that I could be a person of change. And the fact that Walden had that social change embedded in every aspect of class and just in the culture just motivated me more to want to make a difference. And my heart and my passion now is for youth development, so I can help the younger generation to let them know that they can make a difference despite anything that they're going through. So that's how I got to where I am now.
That's great. That's very powerful. Dr. DeGarmo, you started to talk a little bit about your dissertation. Could each of you just take a moment to speak to what your dissertation was about?
Sure, yeah, thank you for asking. So again, I was really noticing in the classroom, I was noticing my fellow teachers didn't have any real understanding about the many challenges that kids in foster care were facing. I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine a 7-year-old girl who is suddenly late at night. And it could be your daughter, your granddaughter, your niece, a friend of the family, late at night without any explanation, is removed from her home, her mother, father, by the police, by social workers, removed from her teddy bears, her stuffed animals, her pets, her toys, her animals, her bedroom, her house, her home, her relatives, aunts, uncles, everything she knows. And suddenly, late night, thrust into a strange home, myself, with strange people, foster parents, and told, this is your new home. And what does she do? She cries herself to sleep. She asks these questions, is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Does mommy no longer love me? Is it my fault that daddy touches me? Will I ever go home again? And the next morning, she goes to a strange school, and she's given spelling words, math, homework, a book to read, and she just screams out, I want to go home. That's what it's like for these kids. The school is the last place they want to be. I did not recognize that before I was a foster parent. And then when I became a foster parent, I recognized my fellow teachers have no understanding about this either. There's no training for this. So my dissertation was, let's bring this together. Let's bring the teachers together. Let's bring foster parents. Let's bring caseworkers together so these kids do not drop out of school. 55% drop out of school, 65% end up homeless, 75% end up incarcerated, and 2 of the 3 have adopted are 3rd-generation foster care, which means their parents, their grandparents were also in foster care in my small town of 2,000 people, and their birth mother was raped, was prostituted out by age 8. Sex 10 to 12 times a day, 7 days a week. So there's no way she was going to succeed in school either. So I wanted to focus, I wanted to focus on the schools. But during my dissertation, I realized, you know what? I need to go out and bring this message to other people. I recognize that foster parents are hurting. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Most rewarding thing I've ever done, but it's the hardest thing I've done. I've had as many as 11 kids in my house at the same time. So tonight is a vacation for me. So my dissertation really allowed me to think about how can I bring this type of social change to the nation and the globe. And I am so grateful for the opportunity to do that dissertation with Walden. I wouldn't have written 10 books. I wouldn't have traveled I was in Tanzania this summer, helping some orphans. I wouldn't be able to do that, any of that stuff, without that doctorate. Yeah.
The topic of my dissertation was the experiences of African American women managers working in predominantly black work environments. And I think what you will hear from each of us is each of us has a passion, and it is something that is impactful, and there is a need for research in these areas as you are witnessing. So for me, the African American woman is a leader in her household. This is a group that is led predominantly by single women, head of house, single parent households headed by women more than any other group. And there is a reason for this relationship that is pretty complex between she and particularly males in the society. And so when she goes into work, she is not monolithic. Women are different. Each minority group has a unique perspective. And what I discovered as we began this dissertation topic was that there was no research that addressed minority or African American corporations intraracially, but not only African American, no minority group and its interaction in the workplace has been covered. So by unveiling those societal and cultural nuances that we witness in the workplace, we can see where switching and how these dynamics play out at home, and for each group, how they interact, which leads to the different stereotypes that they face. So Hispanic women have to downplay their sexuality and femininity. They're considered more domestic. African American women are considered more stern, and they deal less with femininity. Whereas Asian women and other women minority groups identify gender as the primary concern for them at work. The African American woman identifies race more, and this is directly attributable to her experience in the United States during slavery, when race was the primary source of marginalization. And then as she grew, with Shirley Chisholm, for example, running for president, there was a great kickback from the African American male saying, don't identify more with gender, identify more with race, or you will lose our support. So by taking a look at these nuances, not only do I hope to impact mainstream corporate America so that they can better understand the largest minority member of the workforce, but also that it can help to heal male-female relationships which have undergone a lot from our slave experience forward.
Awesome. Well, my dissertation journey was a little bit different from the doctors on stage. I was a little bit stubborn. And when I came back from South Africa, I had in my mind, I was experiencing the HIV crisis that was there, and that sparked a passion in me. So I came back and I was like, I want to work in HIV, I want to work in HIV, I want to work in HIV. So when I started the doctoral program, that's what I had my mind set on, and that's what I was going to do. However, I started working on my dissertation, and I was looking at the impact of HIV on adolescent sexual behavior. And it was great in my mind, and I thought it was good. And when I went to the committee, they said, this is great, but it's saturated. You need to find your niche. You need to find a gap. And I was just so stubborn. I said, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And my advisor reminded me, the best dissertation is a done dissertation. She said, get it done and save the world later. So what I had to do, I started working on my dissertation in that field, and I said, okay, I had to draw back, Nicole, what else can I do but still have the same passion, because I'm going to need that passion to get me through this process. And so I changed my focus from the impact of HIV on sexual behavior on adolescents, and I moved to social media, because that was where we were evolving now, especially with young people. So my dissertation topic now talked about the associations of social media effects on adolescent sexual behavior. So that kind of evolved into that. And now that has propelled me to now be able to speak on social media etiquette and the cyberbullying that takes place with young people as well. So that's my journey.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Dr. Rankin, you actually spoke about some challenges of going through this journey of getting a doctoral degree. Can you think of each of you think of some, in getting a doctoral degree really requires perseverance. Yeah. And can you think and describe maybe some of the challenges that you had in terms of this journey, and how ultimately you were able to overcome them?
Absolutely. Well, yes, there are challenges, not only just in the process of getting your dissertation, but in the mental state. It's a mindset. So I remember there were times where, I had to sacrifice being with family, being with friends. There was Thanksgiving dinner that I couldn't go to because I had to write a paper, I had to work on my prospectus. So it is, I think ultimately you have to know your why. And you have to know, why are you doing this? Because knowing your why and being focused on your why is what's going to get you through those tough times, through those valley moments when sometimes I just didn't even want to write. I was like, I don't even want to do this right now. But I knew my why because there was a greater purpose, so I knew I had to get it done. So I stayed in that moment just for a quick second, but then I said, okay, Nicole, let's get back and let's get this writing done. So along the way, there are very challenges, the sacrifices that you have to make with your family, with your friends, the obstacles where you're butting heads with your advisor because you want to do something and they are the expert and they're helping you guide through this program. So you have to be coachable and you have to be open for change and criticism. And you're at the point, especially with me being, a leader, I'm like, no, this is this way, but you have to be open to the whole process and embrace that process so you can get done.
Yeah, I would say, the perseverance that's required is very similar, I think, to being birthed and growing into adulthood. When you are very young, you have a regimented schedule. Everything you need to do is told to you. And typically, by the time you reach the doctoral level, you pretty much mastered these classes that are contained. This is a 12-week course. We will go over chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 through 8, and you'll be tested at these times, and then it's done. So you know when that's going to end. Then you kind of, when you're 12 or 13, you start to kind of have your own opinions, and by the time you complete this coursework, you've been thinking about a subject that's really important for you to study. Well, you start to introduce that subject to other people, and there are some rejections that come along the way. As you heard, originally I really wanted to research the black male to break up the narrative that's given to us, and I was really railing because I had the unique experience to work in a predominantly black corporation, but I was the only male senior officer. It was all black females, and so I felt like I knew these nuances and attitudes, but I had a different perspective at that time. And so I was on with my chair, and I'm saying, and she's asking me something, and I'm saying, yeah, and they do this, and they do that, and she stopped me, and she said, well, what about your bias? And that's a very simple question. What about your bias? But it threw me, and I really began to change my perspective so that, oddly enough, she laughs and calls me, the champion of the African-American woman manager because of the great appreciation that I have now. So when she talks about adaptability, that's something that you need as well. But that's that, that teenage years when you're kind of stubborn, you think you know it all. And over time, as you continue to be challenged, by the time you become an adult, especially as you mature more and more, you look back and say, wow, that guidance that I received was really good for me. But by 18, technically, you may have the right to make your own decision. This is the evolution from you as a doctoral student into becoming a colleague with those even who have trained you. But what is required is that you learn to take ownership over time. And so I would say, to me, that doctoral journey is a marathon, and it is very similar in stages to your child rearing to adulthood.
I think I had two big challenges. The fact that we did have so many kids in our house and there was no help. And my wife was undergoing her doctorate for naturopathic medicines. And the fact that my focus had such limited resources out there for it. There was nothing out there on my topic at all relevant. And that was so hard. And that's one of the reasons why after I finished, I said, well, I'm gonna change that. So I've written 10 books as a result to get that out there. But I recognize that, in fact, I think I was telling you this in the phone, Keith, I recognize that if I don't buckle down and get this done, it's not gonna get done. I had known somebody that had gone through Walden and they didn't make it. They didn't make it. And I said, it's not going to happen to me. So I made the commitment that every single day, 7 days a week, I was going to read at least 2 articles, no matter how old it was, about this topic. I was going to highlight things, and I was going to write at least 1 page a day. It didn't matter. And then I actually upped that to 2 pages a day. And You were talking about a marathon. I got mine done in 2.5 years. I just told myself, I am going to get this done. Nothing's going to stop me from doing it. But I really enjoyed that process because it's allowed me to say, you know what, anything is possible if you set your mind to it. If you make a commitment to something and you stick to it and you don't let obstacles get in the way and naysayers get in the way, and I don't believe in the word I can't, I say, watch me. And that's how I do my dissertation. Watch me. You can't do that. Watch me. Watch me. So I want to watch you.
You each have accomplished so much in your professional career, and by some of the things we talked about, it sounds like you've also had great learnings in your personal life, about yourself, about others. Can you talk about maybe an unexpected benefit of earning your doctoral degree?
That's a great question.
It is.
It opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I think it does. I think that those 2 letters in front of your name opens up a lot of doors, and it gives you a different level of credibility that you might not have otherwise. When I speak at events across the country and across the globe, there may be some people in that audience or on the stage with me who might know a little bit more, but those 2 letters, a doctorate, opens up a lot of doors for you because they're looking for an expert in your field. And Nicole and Ray are experts in their fields, and I'm an expert in my field. And when you get a doctoral, you will be an expert in your field that will open up doors for you. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until afterwards.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I think for me, I wouldn't say unexpected benefit was more so of the push that I can do it. Because I've had so many obstacles in my life, challenges in my life to say that I couldn't. And the fact that I did it, that was like a pat on the back for myself. And I struggled with, a lot of times with celebrating yourself. I have a life coach now that says you have to stop and realize the great things that you have done to get to this point, because I'm always that ambitious mind to say, I gotta get to the next thing, I gotta get to these dreams, I have these goals. But taking that pause to say, wow, I finished a doctorate. Everybody's not doing that. And that's something to celebrate. So that unexpected benefit for me was the ability to celebrate myself and the things that I can do. And it's okay to do that. A lot of times we think it's, you may think it's selfish to say that you're doing well, but in a humbling manner to say that I can do this and I can do greater. So that was the benefit for myself.
I think for me, the unexpected benefit was just, first of all, the pride of actually reaching this top tier level. And going to Walden University, I went to a math and science academy in high school, so I didn't feel like, I was unworthy, so to speak. But I didn't go to a brick and mortar university for my master's or my doctorate. And in going to Walden University and experiencing the great chair that I was blessed to have, and the rigor of the program was an unexpected benefit. I didn't really know what the comparison would be in the first place at that time. But even after completing my dissertation, to be invited as a presenter at the Academy of Management, which is the gold standard of management journals, as a first-time attendee is pretty unheard of. And then to actually have a professor at Harvard University who I had quoted so much in my dissertation to reach out to me and want to consult and to discuss how impressed with my dissertation he was certainly an unexpected benefit. But what I think it showed me was really your doctoral degree is really what you put into it. And that's what you hear the panelists saying. There was a point where I could have finished my dissertation sooner, or I could have worked harder and developed these nuanced themes behind this complex research that was being done. And by doing a very thorough job, this is the reward that we reap later. So for me, I think what is most important is that even as you sit here today, I selected Walden University in part because of my family and work life. I was a father and worked a full-time job, as you've heard us on the panel say. However, I think that for each of us, what we have been able to do with our doctoral degrees has been very, very rewarding and without limitation.
Yeah.
If you were able to go back in time and talk to yourself as you were just starting this process, what advice would you give to yourself, knowing what you know now of going through the doctoral journey?
I would have told myself to be more flexible in the beginning, and to be more patient with myself. Again, I had so much on my plate in regards to these children who were in tremendous need and tremendous trauma and anxiety, who were in my house demanding all my time, my wife doing her own thing. And I kept telling myself, I cannot lay my head on this pillow until I've read something tonight. And that wasn't always healthy. I could have been a little more patient. I was just so driven to get this done. So I would have told myself, just be more patient and flexible in the process. So when your chair comes to you and say, you know what, maybe you need to think about this instead, be more open to that. So many people ask me, how did you and your wife do it? And I would respond for the longest time, heavy drugs. But that's far from the truth. It was just, it was an exhausting process for me because I just ran it so hard. I would tell myself, slow down a little bit.
I would tell myself, remind myself that the lesson is not in the destination, the lesson is in the journey.
Yeah, that's good.
And really enjoy and embrace every phase of this journey. Because when you get to the end and look back, it all makes sense. But that is a part of what makes the journey so special, is that while you are in it, you don't understand it the same. And so there are different lessons that you can learn with every step. And the last thing would be, I think, as what was mentioned, is to celebrate the small victories. Take time and celebrate the small victory. Every class you complete, love on yourself for 24 hours or the weekend before the next class or the week before. Be proud of what you have achieved and then be ready to move forward.
That's good. I think if I had to look back, I would tell myself to be coachable. You're doing a dissertation, you've never done this before. There are people that are there to guide you, your committee members, your advisors. You don't know everything, to be open. And then also, you don't have to compare yourself to others. Your journey is your journey, and you have to just embrace your process, whatever that is. I know I will always ask people about their journey, how long it was taking them, how much are they writing a night, and sometimes I get discouraged, like, wow, how are you getting the motivation to write all that time? I'm just barely getting a page, or, but my journey was my journey, and if I had to go back, I would continue to tell myself that so I can truly embrace the process and go through it with knowing that I'm okay with doing what I was doing. But no matter what, I'm still going to finish.
Well, I really want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for sharing your really inspiring stories, very powerful. I'm just so touched by everything each of you said, and I know for me it was inspiring. I hope it was for our audience.